Good evening, Charlottesville, and good evening, commissioners. I'm glad all of you are here on tonight. Tonight, we have on our agenda is a work session. We're talking about, but we'll talk about it. So let's go ahead and do our roll call.
Right. Ernest,
I'm here.
Wolfgang,
Here.
Mary,
Here.
Charlie is not here, AD is not here, Catherine,
Here.
Suzanne,
Here.
Heather,
Here.
that's it. Thank you. We have quorum.
Awesome.
Nice.
Let us, recite our mission. 1, 2, and 3.
Act as a strong advocate to justice and equal opportunity by providing citywide leadership and guidance in the area of civil rights.
That sounded so good.
It really
Thank you very
did.
much. For members of the public participating virtually, if you experience technical difficulties, you may call 434-970-3115. And a staff member will assist you. The number is 434-970-3135. All right,
115?
Sorry.
3115.
It's like a running joke.
Yes, it is. The commission welcomes comments and questions and commits to listening carefully to and thoughtfully to what is presented. A maximum of 16 public comment time slots are allotted per meeting. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. The commission requests that members of the public refrain from engaging in personal attacks against commissioners and staff members and ask their comments and questions focused on matters related to human rights within the city. All right, do we have anybody on?
Yes, but the first public comment is in person only.
In person only, okay, so we don't have anyone, it does say, members of the public, in person attendees only. We don't have anyone, here in public, so we're gonna move on to our work session. All right, so we are here tonight to, draft up our legislative agenda recommendations. For the last couple of meetings, we've had people come in, I think, let's see, we had someone come in on.
Just 2 weeks
ago. It doesn't say the date, I missed the date.
2 weeks ago.
So
The
2 weeks
18th.
ago,
July 18th.
July 18th.
Yeah.
But we had Brack and those guys come in before that. That was
20.
that April, was that June 3rd or was that June 20th?
6th.
June
That's
6th.
right.
So we had some local individuals come in on June the 6th. That was Brad, Charlottesville DSA. Home. And Deidre Creasy. I will mess up her last name.
From Region 10, right?
Yeah, and, and then we also had on July 3rd, is that correct?
Do we meet on July 3rd?
18th, right? On the 18th, the last meeting?
When I came,
Had more,
when we
yeah.
had legislative
Mhm.
members come in,
Yeah.
that was, Lord, is that Laura Dobbs from Richmond?
Mhm.
She was here. Dr. Elizabeth Johnson from Alexandria, Human Rights Commission spoke. And then we had, Delegate Katrina Paulson spoke, and, Senator Craig Deed spoke as well. Okay? If you had a chance to look at the information that was brought up, that was stated, then you can, see one commonality that I did see was the 14-day, reinstated 14-day pay or quit. was one that I did see that came back over and over again, both locally and from the state organizations.
Yeah.
That came. With Laura Dobbs from home. Yeah, spend the 14 day pay or quit to a permanent status. Another one that intrigued me was the Fund 5,000 Families, which is a state voucher program specific to families with children. I thought that one was important as well. Does anyone else have any ones that stood out to them?
Ernest, could you just repeat the last thing you said? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
The other one that I liked was the Fund 5,000 Families, which was a state voucher program specific to families with children. That was brought up by Laura Dobbs. Does anybody have any other ones that they looked at that we should take into consideration?
Laura Dobbs brought up at limited capping or limiting application fees.
Yes.
And we saw that as well in the public comments that came in. Laura Dobbs specifically is it number one, limit application fees or allow groups of tenants to submit a single application.
Mhm.
And I think in that same, it's not said in the same grouping, because this is on my phone, right? I did read it yesterday, but I'm looking at my phone right now, but there's something about like in terms of an umbrella, like limiting security deposits slash like not connecting credit scores to the amount of deposit, right? There's an umbrella there about what basically the entry fee.
Yeah.
For people.
Yeah, that was brought up about the fact of tying credit score to ability to lease, rent or get into a home.
It goes along with the limitation of application fees, but having more transparency in the tenant screening process.
Yes.
Which would allow a tenant to understand if they may not apply if they don't meet the criteria for the application, and also if they are rejected, they understand the reasons for those rejections.
Yes, I like that one as well, having more transparency in the process. Where was that?
Number two, Laura Dobbs.
Yep,
Her suggestion.
I like that one.
I think also I mean, we all know this, but you know, how do we serve and provide shelter for more people in our community?
Now, is that in the,
That was in the feedback.
right, I haven't gotten to that.
Oh,
yet.
sorry,
Yeah,
sorry,
I haven't gotten to
skipping
that.
ahead,
Yeah.
sorry.
I was trying to go through
Yep,
that and
I
then
got you.
I was definitely gonna go back to.
Yep.
To the feedback that we had gotten from the community.
Both Elizabeth Stark from Charlottesville DSA and Laura Dobbs talked about various reasons why someone's lease could be ended and may not need to, like the bar for approving retaliation is so high. And most tenants who assert advocate for themselves may just, their lease may be ended. And it'd be almost impossible to prove that that's retaliation. I think instead Laura Dobbs suggested increase protect number 7 on that list, increase protections against landlord retaliation, including harassment, non-lease renewal as specific forms of landlord retaliation.
Yeah, the tenant rights piece was felt like it continued to come up in terms of, yeah, without the fear of retaliation, understanding, right, like the transparency, right, like there's that whole, that just doesn't really seem to exist much.
Virginia has a particularly weak landlord tenant law and a number of cities that are top in the country for eviction rates. Right, that continues to be, I mean, Charlottesville is a small city, isn't, doesn't rise to that level, but Richmond and several of the Tidewater cities are among the top, have the top eviction rates because our tenant protections are very weak. So strengthening those.
It would be interesting to find out how do cities handle the issue of retaliation? How do they do it differently? Because like in this case, we're in Virginia, sorry, not cities, but in Virginia, the tenant actually has to prove that the landlord intended to harass them and retaliate. And I mean, that's incredibly difficult as a bar to meet. And so if other places do it differently, it'd be interesting to know, you know, what does that wording look like?
Right, so can we do some headings with, starting with tenant protections? What are the things under tenant protection? that we could look into? Cause I like that, I mean, it's I think it makes it difficult and a person will get discouraged to even try if there is no real opportunity, meaning if they have all the roadblocks,
Mhm.
you know, why am I gonna continue to try to go after a household placement? If I, you know, have all these things that are up against me anyway. But if I have some protections, you know, or, you know, I think protection brings opportunities.
Yes, I guess question for this part of the process, are we at this point looking for things, we're looking for things that we want to present to council that to advocate for in
Yes.
legislative,
So hopefully they will.
not shake that to the city that the city should do. So our
No,
focus really
no,
is state
no, 'cause
level,
I-
or
'cause I
state
don't
level
know-
allow.
Yeah, I don't know what, that's a part of what power do we really, do we have other than sending it to city council that they will then city, that they were either added to what they're gonna do or take what we have and take that and send it
Yeah.
with what they have.
Right, making sure.
Is what, am I right on that, Todd?
Yeah, I mean, you can provide state level legislative recommendations. If you have city policy specific recommendations, that would be a kind of a separate
Mhm.
pitch from you all, but you can do that as well. But that can come after the stuff that you're talking about with as far as legislative recommendations, because that has more of a deadline.
Well, we could, I think we can do that too, because I know we did hear a lot of things about some things that we can make, that we could
Changes.
probably change here in the city.
Mhm.
Um,
The key is also just making sure that it's something that council actually can have an impact on.
right, that's true, that is something they can do, that's correct.
Yeah, so under the I have under the umbrella of tenant rights and protection, the things that we've talked about, right? Like being able as a tenant to address issues without fear of retaliation, creating limits for security deposits. That's something that Roy Fitch said. I don't know if the 14-day pay or quit comes under tenant rights, the transparent.
It definitely,
Okay.
it definitely does, because
Okay.
right now it's a 5-day fair play.
Okay.
If you don't pay within the 5 days, then you
Yeah.
can proceed with an eviction.
And the transparency
Mhm.
piece so that people know. Although that could also come under, again, actually in the place, but yeah.
And if we state protections, increase protections against landlord retaliation,
Mhm.
yeah, okay.
I think particularly having the lease non-renewal as a basis for
Mhm.
retaliation is really important. I mean, it's just very expensive to be forced to move at the conclusion of a lease. Kevin's got her hands.
there was a whole packet of tenants' rights bills that passed and were vetoed by the governor.
Yeah.
And I feel like we should be prioritizing,
Mm.
like, things we know that passed that could pass again, right? Probably get vetoed again. but
Do we
I
have
ask
that?
why.
Do we have those bills written down? Because I was actually hoping to get those and I didn't. I might have them in an email and I just haven't got them yet.
And second, maybe this is the same thing, but I thought I remembered Elizabeth Stark talking about the rate of renewal, not just as a retaliation thing, but that there should just be a blanket right to renew. If you have not done something,
Right, yeah, the right to renew.
that you should have the right to renew without tying it to retaliation.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
That you don't have to
Step further.
prove that they're not renewing it out of retaliation, that they have to prove that they have cause for not renewing. the lease, Right?
Right.
Right,
Yeah,
and if
Elizabeth
they
Stark
turn
would
around
take-
and rent to someone else, like, right after they've rented to you, that would show that it wasn't like a problem with the apartment or something like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you know if that was that a bill?
Pretty sure.
How many got vetoed? 203? Is that what we
It
heard?
was a bunch.
Yeah.
I thought he said 203, but for some reason,
I have 203 in my head, but.
I have 203 in my head, but I feel like 201 was in the notes, but I could be wrong. I don't-
Doesn't matter at that point.
I know,
Why
over
don't you just like-
200 bills,
Yeah.
Once you're just drawing a line down the page.
a record number. Yeah,
Let me see.
yeah, the notes say 201, but for some reason, I feel like it was 203.
Yeah, 201.
Oh, okay.
That's what right there.
Heather, I don't know what you and I were listening to, but
Oh, I was on Zoom, you know.
I was here.
Did we mention making section 8 vouchers usable in jurisdictions other than the issuing jurisdiction? Because in a small town like Charlottesville, that's really problematic.
And just to clarify that, because we asked for some clarification, because that was a major issue down in the Richmond area, because there was a county that wanted to restrict because people in Richmond were going into that county.
Chesterfield, yeah.
Whereas, yeah, and so, yeah, I can see the value of just rescinding that. Fortunately, here, you can take your Charlottesville administered voucher into the county and use it, so it's sort of, I guess the enabling legislation allowed it to be the locality's prerogative whether or not to allow it, but so far, currently Albemarle hasn't said no, but yeah, I guess they reserve the right to do so as long as this legislation exists. That was our understanding, right? So yeah, it makes sense to maybe use
Just
that,
get that out there. Yeah.
not so
Okay.
easy.
I found the list of vetoed bills.
Okay.
It's not a list, it's more like a document in which
One is,
writing up the justification why they were
yeah,
vetoed.
one House Bill 817 was continued residential landlord and tenant act. And manufactured home lot rental at retaliatory conduct. And it passed the House and everybody, I think. It was one of the ones that was vetoed. And it says, as newest access to the list of prohibited retaliatory actions by a landlord against a tenant under the Virginia Residential Landlord and Tenant Act. And that one we did not. I think that was. Yeah. Bill list vetoed by governor. That was one. And that was House Bill 817.
There's also something else that Delegate Carlson talked about, which I don't know if this went forward or not, but she was talking about allowing the use of Medicaid funds to fund homelessness. And I don't know if that, I had that we have that written down, but I don't know if that was something that was put forth or just something that, or maybe it's something she's thinking about for the next session.
House Bill 598 was the one from the 5 days to 14 days.
Hmm.
That was vetoed as well.
Oh, so that was put forth, okay, and it was passed in both chambers,
Um,
so it sounded like several of them were actually passed in both
yes,
chambers.
I
and
think
then-
it did.
Okay.
Is this list of the bills, is this something everyone has?
Oh, you
Cause I
can-
don't know where I could access it,
Oh,
but I would
just
love
go
to see it.
to, Virginia's legislative, just go, if you go to, all I did was punch in, Virginia housing. Virginia housing bills, I think is what I posted, when I typed in. And then it gives you Virginia Legislative Information System.
Okay,
If you go to LIS dot,
okay,
you got it?
yeah,
Okay. And then you go to 2024 session and bill list vetoed by governor.
okay.
And there's another one that was vetoed, was House Bill 993. Was one, prohibits landlords subject to the Virginia Residential, Landlord and Tenant Act from requiring a tenant to pay any fees for the maintenance or repair of any unit subject to such rental agreement unless necessitated by the tenant's violation of the requirement of the act. Or paying fees submitted in the periodic rent payments. So that was another one that was vetoed.
Elizabeth Stark had recommended create an option for payment plan. Which was included in one of the bills that was vetoed, establishing a periodic rent payment option. Do we wanna, do you want me to like type things? I love typing things.
If you would like to
Go
type
for it.
things, you
Type
type
things.
away.
I will type away.
And then you and Lily can get together and
Mhm.
coordinate. You need to.
It might be nice to have like an introductory paragraph about the importance of, both tenant protections and homelessness resources, because housing is such, Charles was in such a housing crisis, just to kind of frame that for them.
And that's, I mean, tenant protections is one of the headers.
Right.
Is there anything else under tenant protections? How many things do we have? Like at least 5, right?
Sure, I lost count of my jotting.
Share.
To me, it makes sense. Perhaps in this environment, to encourage city council to broadly support bills that will increase housing supply and support tenants' rights. Maybe giving some examples. Because honestly, the way the legislative session works, and we're not close enough to the ground to really know like what's really gonna rise to the top and be, you know what I mean? And so I think maybe what Mary's suggesting, a sort of overarching, we deeply believe that this is an important issue for these reasons. And we hope we urge you to support bills that achieve these goals. And say these are some of the specific examples that were provided by knowledgeable community leaders. You know what I mean? Rather than a prescriptive and like attempt to be, exhaustive list of all the things that they could possibly support.
Do you think that they know about issues like the lack of transparency in terms of, a tenant not, or a potential tenant not knowing why they were rejected? Would they already know about those issues, or could we play a role in
All been invited.
informing them that this is happening?
I think that's a good point.
Like
Right.
some education, if you
Yeah.
will, or, yeah.
But think about what made last year's, I mean, obviously, the vetoes are frustrating, but we did have success with people sponsoring things that
Mhm.
were suggested, and I know that those were pretty specific things. And so, yeah, I appreciate the idea of like, this is the global issue, this is important, but I think at least giving them a bulleted list of specific things that somebody could craft a bill around might be helpful, just because it echoes maybe what other specific things people are saying from like home or legal aid or whatever, so that it shows that there's kind of common interest. I don't know. Is that what you were saying already? I don't know if I'm.
Yeah, that is actually what I was
Yeah.
saying, like,
Okay,
here's the general principle, here's some specifics that were
Mhm.
suggested. But,
yeah, but still, yeah, making sure that the similar language that we were hearing.
Yeah.
Is repeated, and like you said before, especially if we're gonna support things that were vetoed before, and we're hearing that from other agencies. Just to make sure that that specific language is in there, so council, because I don't know that council has. I don't know, I don't wanna judge their knowledge about it, but giving them the script
Yeah.
makes it easier.
yeah.
And this is pretty deep in the weeds, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so city council members may not know.
Mhm.
I mean, I think
Some do.
we're being educated, some might, but
Yeah.
like, we're being educated
Yeah,
on some of this too,
yeah.
yeah.
I agree, the bandwidth of, housing, trees.
Sidewalks,
downtown,
yeah.
Sidewalks and,
Yeah.
and trying to be a master of all of those
Yep.
different things. Makes it very difficult. That's why, I wanted to make sure that we just kind of nail down on a specific thing, because trying to do all of that is very tough.
So what's the best way to craft that document?
I don't know. We have a lot of ideas and smart people in this space.
Nuts and bolts terms, I have shared a working document with all of you. You should have a link and ability. It should be in your inbox. Let me know if you don't have it.
Okay.
And there's ample space for an introductory paragraph. Right now, I'm just writing bulleted lists of the things that we've highlighted and putting them under appropriate categories. Right now, tenants' rights.
Yeah.
And I'm also gonna make a bullet to state if there's been a reference bill this past legislative session that was vetoed. 14-day or pay or quit, for example.
Mhm.
And you also can look on the webpage too, to see if you have any things from last year's letter that you like, that you want to repeat. That's also there and available.
Right.
Okay.
It could be something, maybe my outlook is.
I'm probably logged into. Says you have your edit access.
Okay.
Yeah. And, but it won't give you the ability to write on it.
Maybe it made it kind of analog, so when I had to add people individually as opposed to the, there we go.
I
We got Heather in there.
Let's see.
I love having a different
the light
authenticator
gonna
for
go out?
every single thing I do.
Yeah.
Do you remember the number at the top of your head?
Could it just come over so I don't say it out loud?
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, on, as we're streaming.
Here, I'll use.
It's top secret.
I don't know how top secret it is, but. I was gonna like hand signal it to you. You have the reasons? I'll just go do it.
Yeah.
I feel like you-
It won't let us log, we have to log in to edit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forget my login.
Do you want me to send it to your personal?
No, no,
I can do that.
I can pull
Could
it
you
up.
send it to mine? I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Can I?
I can pull it up.
Can I give it to you?
Share it with me. Yes, go ahead.
It's Mary
Mary
Bowers
Bowers.
Sues,
It's either way, it's fine. Just
MARYPAPRSUES@gmail.com.
Uh-oh.
It's not like-
I used to sue.
I think he broke it.
Somebody's in there.
That's so
Okay.
strange. Okay, so I'm typing Mary Bauer and it was, yes,
Okay.
but it was also typing that on the page.
Oh, sorry.
So sharing
Probably
access.
is not one of our recommendations.
There we go.
Are the city police officers?
Mary
gonna
Bowers,
see us?
Suze, S-U-Z.
SUES,
Oh.
Sues, as in Sue's people.
Right.
Sue's
Love it.
at gmail.com.
Okay, you have, it's, oh. To. For some reason, I'm not allowed to share that with you.
I'm not sure that I'm on the.
You can't log in.
Yeah, I'm having some issues logging into that.
It's not letting me in either. It made it so secure. You can't
I'm
actually.
allowed to share outside of the city.
Okay, that's all right. I think having trouble staying with Wi-Fi actually, which is like a
Yeah.
whole other issue.
Very goofy. That's a shame. You can do it in like a Google Doc too, but
We can also, yeah, we can also take a look at it.
Tonight, yeah.
you're in.
You special boy. Not letting me in.
Yeah, I'm not in either.
It's like, is that Ernest? Come on in.
It's sort of a forcing function. Like every meeting, everyone must log in. We're like, oh, okay.
I don't think we need to do this right now, but I think we need to explain what this whole pay or quit means. Just because, like, it's easy to, to just not, but.
It's like a quick summary. of the
Yeah, just
recommendation.
as of now, this is what, these are the protections tenants have. We don't have to do it in this
I
instance,
mean,
but.
I think we just, tenants are given 5 days to pay,
Right.
or an eviction proceeding can be commenced.
Mhm.
And that's a pretty short period of time.
Mhm. Okay. What you got?
I mean, honestly, a 14-day pay or quit is a really short period of time. I mean, if you're gonna try and access, an organization or a church or, do a GoFundMe or something. It just seems,
Then you have a sick kid.
yeah, you have a sick kid or, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, it should be 60 days, But.
So do we want to stop at tenants' rights or do we want to?
There's a little bit of a cost of entry or
Yeah,
like there's an umbrella, I think it's smaller, but like the cost of entry in terms of like and I don't know what bills were put forth, but the limiting of application fees.
That's in there.
Oh, is that under tender? Oh, then we could
It's
just
on
use
our
that
list.
as a never, okay, then let's just use it, yeah. We just have one. So transparency, okay, yep.
It's true, yeah, just access to housing. We currently have limitation of application fees and tenants' rights, but. It is, yeah, your point that they're not a tenant unless they can access the
Right.
housing. And so maybe access to housing could be another.
No, tenants' rights and
Mhm.
access. to
Right now, we
housing.
only have one category and it's just tenants rates.
Yeah.
So we can easily create another category.
Yeah, we
I'll look
will,
for that.
yeah.
Something about entry, yeah, like actually
Yeah.
getting into the housing, yeah,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah,
the
that's all.
access, yeah.
Boom. You're done typing together, I'll copy, paste that up.
Yeah, sometimes you can delete things I type too, so I tend to, edit later. I'm finished typing.
Another one of the recommendations came from Elizabeth Johnson, was that we're talking a lot about transparency in rental agreements. One thing that they said that the Alexandria Human Rights Commission was advocating for was that leases and those agreements be made available in languages other than English.
Oh, yes,
Which I think would be a good thing to
Mhm.
include.
yes.
Oh, yeah, and I like the one where she stated, in crowd pool, fee disclosure and transparency require any fees increases to coincide with, the terms of the lease.
Maybe we can add that to the current blurb. about The transparencies.
Okay.
Do we have I almost think my screen got frozen. The language, the suggestion of information being made available in multiple languages, did that actually go into the document?
I'm looking at it.
Okay,
Yes, it's the last bullet point.
okay. Refresh. Like, I don't think I'm looking at the current document.
I think we probably want to, in terms of access to housing, we want to require more transparency during tenant screening process
Mhm.
up towards access.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like there's the barrier to entry issue and then there's security once people are in the housing. Access and then. Oh. Okay, now I have everything.
Anything else as far as a barrier to getting housing?
Are we going to have a separate category on addressing homelessness or?
We can,
Will that be more for the city versus the state?
I don't think it's a statewide problem. I mean, I know it's a state issue, but let's talk about it. And let's see.
I just don't know enough about, like, I wasn't looking at all the legislative stuff, I don't know enough about
I mean,
any things that were put forth in terms of additional statewide funding for.
well, if you go
Yeah.
back and look at the page that, with the individuals that were here from here.
Yep.
Here's a real clear picture of some of the issues
Mhm.
that we deal with, create truly affordable housing for individuals
Right,
that are at or below 30% of the area median income.
what I think I don't know is from a legal perspective and from a who's on first perspective, how many things that are related to housing and homelessness are at the state level versus how many of them are at the city level,
Two things that are at
Yeah.
the state level.
please.
Katrina Carlson points 1 and 4, section 4.b, So one bill that she's hoping to champion is to support comprehensive probation reform that would offer more support to people experiencing reentry. I feel like that's gonna go to homelessness just because which hopefully the form of support would be the form of access to housing as well. And then she's also researching out the potential allocation of Medicare and Medicaid
Yes.
funds to addressing homelessness
That is
and
definitely,
affordable
yes,
housing.
yes.
So knowing those are already upcoming would be helpful to highlight,
Those, yep.
so we don't have a bill, but a champion. I don't know if we can even list her, probably not.
Is funding, Todd, for homeless shelters, homelessness, like, is that a state thing? Is that typically through federal, aside from city? But like, is that typically through federal funding versus state funding?
Yeah, a lot of it's federal funding, so the Blue Ridge Area Coalition for the Homeless.
Yeah.
That Shayla runs is the sort of pass through for funds that come from HUD. I think maybe some through CDBG, but also others through home, both of which are HUD funded things that funds that end up in localities based on your population.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be used for some of which is used for other things, but the home funds, I think, are typically used by the COC to do work to try to combat homelessness.
Okay.
They also get donations, like the nonprofits, like the Haven and Potcham are also getting private donations and grants as well, but
Right.
I don't know that any state
That's what
funding.
that's where,
comes
yeah,
through.
that's where my
No,
head
I take
was
that
going.
back. I think there is some state funding. I think I could actually ask that question. Cause we actually have an employee here that used to work in the state office that approved state funding for COCs. So I don't know what department that is off the top of my head, but yeah, there is some funding that comes.
So, yeah, there's probably an overarching increased funding for
Yeah,
housing
yeah,
and homelessness in
Yeah,
the
so I think
state
you
of
could make
Virginia,
that-
yeah.
ask. I don't, yeah,
Okay.
if we knew the name of the agency, we could be more specific. I
Yeah.
can look that up actually.
Yeah. We have legislative bills that are. Do not have a homeless bill of rights, and some other states do.
Okay, any other?
I don't have anything else from the statewide perspective.
I guess I'm curious if the 5,000 families voucher program would be considered homelessness prevention? Just because you
Hmm.
see, face the Salvation Army reporting that an increasing number of families are experiencing homelessness and limited capacity to respond to that, so. It's tangentially related. I'm fine just keeping it in the other category,
Mhm.
but I was curious if you read more about it and it's connected. to
Rent
homeless
relief
prevention.
to
Okay.
empower
I'll leave it
Virginia
where it is.
families.
I mean, yeah, the language is about movement, displacement and eviction.
Yep.
Stability.
It provides rent relief. Provided to families on a monthly basis, keep their rent affordable for the long term. Will empower families and their children by providing them with a stable home. I mean, there's an entire website called 5000families.com. Interesting.
So in terms of 5,000 families, what would our ask be? I mean, it looks like a great program, but are we saying do
Is
we
there a
want
bill?
it to be financially supported? Cause I don't think it's, the language, maybe everybody knows more about it, but it says, tell us how well,
Alright, so,
I don't know how funded it is and.
right, is that a bill that went through? I know it was brought up.
Let me look.
Laura Dodd said it was just fund 5,000 families.
I don't think it exists yet. I've never heard of anyone who
Yeah,
has a 5,000 families voucher or anything like that. All I've ever heard is the federal and locally funded
Oh, here's
vouchers.
it, establish the 5,000 families program.
Yeah.
I can't tell if it was. The budget amendment.
yeah, I mean, the language on the website it's good, but it says, tell us how the 5,000 families pilot program would impact you or someone you know, so. It could mean a couple different.
I can't tell if it passed or not, but it was definitely a bill about the 5,000 families.
Well, under action on the website,
Yeah,
the only action it has, it says is no longer something they want us to do.
So it says donate, isn't there something about donating or no?
Right, donating, but
Oh. Oh. Okay, really, all right,
Okay.
okay, and then is Virginia Housing Alliance is? Oh. Some information on this.
So it was just a pilot program.
Well, I think it was, I'm not sure if it really was even a pilot program. I think it was a bill that
hoping.
Senator Hashmi and Delegate Coiner
Yes.
put for, I mean, I have that. I don't even know if the pilot
So
program,
it didn't go anywhere.
so it should be something that we make sure is in our stuff to be considered in the future.
yeah, it says, it would invest 100 million in the future of Virginia students and families. But I don't think,
I think it definitely falls in our purview, though.
But we could have a kind of general statement in support of additional funding
That
for
supports.
subsidized housing and vouchers, particularly for
Housing stability.
Family with
right,
kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Anything else?
Mhm.
Were there any recommendations in the comments that we wanted to add to? I didn't get a chance, I'm still thinking through.
Was there anything else we wanted to talk about with the legislative stuff?
Not at the state level.
At the state level? Okay. If you go down to I can't tell what page this is.
Page 11.
Yeah,
My phone is-
11.
Yeah,
So Lily, how many responses did we have?
48.
48?
I think it's pretty good for it only being up for 1 week.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
good.
that's very good.
That's good. Right? What's that? Create more truly affordable housing for individuals and below 80% of the area. Housing and expand overnight shelter options for families.
yes. There's also something in there, not only about the expansion of overnight options for families. I don't know if I saw it for women too, separately, but also low barrier shelters is another thing. So,
What's the low barrier shelter?
but, so if you, well, Haven doesn't do overnight, but Salvation Army has a higher barrier to entry. for people in terms of being allowed to stay there than perhaps Haven, you know, for folks being able to come in. I'm not saying that really eloquently at all right now, but
More checks and balances,
Fewer.
or fewer.
The idea is
Fewer
you,
in Haven.
You
you,
have
you have,
fewer
there's a
checks and
lot of
more
hoops
more barriers.
for
in
the
that.
Salvation Army.
Right, right.
Which that may be the case, yeah. As more shelters are built when you're housing people all together, but I do think there's something about the low barrier piece that feels important for our city.
So everybody had a chance to look at question one, question two. Support the development of increased services for those with mental illnesses and substance abuse. That was something that was brought up by Senator Deeds. Those are the, I guess, Lily, you put these in the top three?
Sorry, what?
Did you summarize these in the top three?
Yes. The top three that I listed out are the ones that were most frequently selected.
Some of the responses are. Sorry, I'm down into the open comments, yeah.
I know, I read
I know,
every
yeah.
one.
Yep, me too.
So, there's the one like the funding of 5,000 families was tied with codifying voucher affordability. Does everyone have a chance to go down and look at the answers to question 5? Question 6.
Yeah.
It's a very bad proposal. Sorry.
Yes,
Some of them are great, public. Thank you for writing. We appreciate you.
yes, there are great ideas in there.
You are a waste of public.
Few people just we're not pleased.
On public records, the
Mhm.
reminder. Let's see, someone specifically write in about a lack of restrictions on a landlord's ability to refuse renewal.
Yeah.
I feel like could have come from one of us. Could have come from one of our panelists, but
Mhm.
it's good to see that exact language mirrored in our comments.
I will say that two of the things that we had named as our primary focus area as a commission, shelter and wraparound services, are both embedded into the comments from the community. It's really appreciate that.
We don't have a lot of recommendations related to wraparound services.
Oh, sorry, yeah, we had it, yeah, there are a couple about mental health and other, yes, yep. You're right, that we don't have. a
Should
ton
we
of those.
add some? Even if general? Pre-deeds had written, I think in reporting, maybe you can, Lily, maybe you can refresh my memory about. The comment says, support the development of increased services for those with mental illnesses and substance use. It doesn't say if that was a bill that was,
Mm,
you know, was proposed in the past legislative session or if it's upcoming, but
yeah, that could be.
I think that was something that he talked about for upcoming.
upcoming.
Yep. I think
Yeah.
everything
Maybe
he
we
was
can
talking about
include that.
Yep,
Yes,
yep.
I will make a category. Wraparound services.
yeah, are we talking about city stuff right now? Is that what we're looking at right now?
I think, I'm still thinking state.
For the wrap, for that one, yeah, it feels like that goes into the state.
Mhm.
but, like,
And it would also be
local.
for the city as well, right? Like as we,
Yeah.
Cause I want to bring it, what Shayla brought up about funding the coordinator.
yeah,
Mhm.
yep. I think a couple of things that I thought about when reading these comments were one, I think this is a project that you all are doing somewhat in-house in terms of what is happening in terms of access within the city, right, through landlords and, sorry.
It's like both of you. I'm referring.
Oh,
And she gets in the way.
yeah, sorry.
Why?
Like understanding what the barrier, there's a project that you all are
Yeah.
working on.
Looking at specifically in a little more into detail around source of funds discrimination,
Mm,
that was what we've been looking at.
yeah,
And just examining. A lot of it is around what are the going rents for 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom apartments in large multifamily complexes? Are they at, below, or above voucher payment standards?
mhm,
If they're above, when did they change?
mhm,
And was that concurrent with changes in state law that said
mhm.
you have to accept a voucher, things like that.
Yeah.
And also looking at state of maintenance on units. If a unit is in a certain level of disrepair, it won't pass a voucher inspection and therefore systematically excludes all voucher holders
Mm,
because it can't
yep.
pass a voucher inspection. And are people, landlords maintaining units at a state of disrepair so they don't have to rent to voucher holders when they know they have a market that's cornered and they'll be able to rent the unit regardless of its state of disrepair. So that's kind of
Yeah.
Yeah,
the thing that we're trying to look into. It's complicated. It's hard to look
yeah,
into
the
that stuff.
note I wrote here was shining the light on landlords, so, okay, so
little bit,
yes,
yeah.
at some level, like, and I don't know how much the city plays into that, but I
Mm.
knew you talked about that before, and I feel like at some point that's gonna be some really interesting
Yeah,
information and data
Yeah.
for us.
work in
No, no,
progress for
okay.
sure.
It seems like hard research to do because how do
Yep.
you find out about these places and are they in a state of I mean, would they be on some sort of list? Like the place has been rejected
Part of it is
by the voucher program?
collaboration with the voucher administrators to see what data they're collecting in terms of things that are coming back that didn't attach. By which I mean vouchers that they issued, people went out, searched for their 90 days and couldn't attach to a unit. What places did they try to attach it to? What were they told? What, did things not pass inspection? Was the price too high? that kind of stuff. So a little bit of that is collaboration with voucher administrators. It's a work in progress. Like, I think that for us, that would be collaborating with Charlottesville Redevelopment Housing Authority and then potentially talking to Albemarle County Housing as well, just to see if they have any of that data. And if they don't, is there a way that they can start collecting it so that we have some sort of information bank to base this off of? And then, yeah, there's other ways we can get more information about it as well, like through testing, but yeah, that's kind of the idea at the moment, yeah.
And do you, you know, if somebody goes out and they spend their whole 90 days and they never find anything, is there a record of that having happened? Like how many people have vouchers and try to use them?
Sure.
And
That's what we
And
wanna
there's-
know,
so you have to find that out, cause that's just,
all that we have to find out.
yeah, wow. That'll be really good to know,
It
cause
will
if we
be,
just
and-
find out, like,
The,
it's clearly not working for some reason, you
Yeah.
know, we don't know if it's the.
the challenge right now is that, you know, that was something that we were working on initially when Shiloh got here, but now Shiloh has cases to work on. So we're looking at who can we partner with to help us with that research at this point, because it's a little bit more than we can handle just in-house, given that we still have to deal, you know, effectively with individual complaints, so
Yeah.
it's another thing to keep in mind. Yeah. We haven't forgotten about it, for sure.
So the work of the commission is working. They are doing individual complaints.
Yeah.
You know, that was a statement made in the feedback.
They're hard to see sometimes.
I know. And we don't see those things as a commission unless it goes to that point. Anything else? We have a lot. So the thing now is between now and I think the 18th. Is it?
That sounds
When we
right-ish.
wanna turn it in,
No, the 15th. Between now and the 15th. We need to look at that and scale it down and, you know, get I guess, a paragraph or so. To list why we're doing and what are we proposing? As far as state level. Do we want to do some citywide as well? Okay.
cause in September, I was just looking at the work plan, you have,
Yeah, I do too.
the regular meeting on 9/19, you talked about discussing the focus areas,
Mm.
city policy recommendations based on the same panels and research that you've done.
Okay,
So and then presenting those in October.
alright, so that means that we can do the legislative stuff. And then come back.
Exactly,
Okay,
yeah.
sounds good.
And timing the policy recommendations in October was strategic because that's when the budget process really starts in the city, so that's why, and obviously you gotta get the legislative legislative recommendations in earlier, cause they do that before they work on the budget, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Alright, so we have to get that information to city council.
So we'll try to get
by
that,
October.
yeah, so the legislative recommendations we wanna present in August after your 8/15 meeting, your
Okay.
city level recommendations in October.
Right. Alright, so we'll work on that. So we can make the vote, come up with the adoption of what we want to send to the state. At our next meeting. And then our meeting in September. On the 19th. Then we'll talk about the citywide recommendations. I see that on the 5th, September 5th, are we gonna have a public hearing training on that day?
Good question. So that was held a little bit around the idea that what is our ordinance gonna look like at that point? I guess we'll know Monday, hopefully, what our ordinance is gonna look like. I need to think about a little bit more, now that we've kind of restructured that, I don't have anything set up yet. I had some preliminary conversations with a potential trainer earlier on in the year, that I was like, well, we don't really know what we're training on yet. I think that. Yeah, not ready yet.
Okay.
So I think we'll maybe wait on that. I want to talk maybe with the team a little bit more about what that could look like, and maybe with you guys as well after the ordinance passes, like knowing what's in the ordinance and that enforcement section. What do you feel like are the gaps in your knowledge, and then we can talk about who we want to bring in.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for reminding me about that.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? Thank you. I think we have done good work tonight. Thank you, Wolfgang, for taking down notes and stuff, and thank you, Lily. as well. Anything else? Yes.
I just wanna note, I have friends who are landing at some point on 8:15 in the early evening. I may not be here, but what it would be helpful for me to know prior to is if we are concerned about quorum, I can come earlier, like for the earlier part of the meeting, if we want to vote on anything. And then, so I just wanna name that piece.
Okay.
So if we need quorum, yeah.
Would we need to vote on these recommendations or just something we're doing?
I think ideally you would, I think it would
is like very vague.
be clear, like that
What we're doing.
you voted to adopt for recommendation to council,
So
kind of
we
like
need to
you.
vote the next meeting.
Yeah, it would probably be good. I mean, obviously, chair could say, I'm taking this forward on behalf of the commission, but I think a little bit more solidarity would not be harmful.
Well, here's the thing, you make it easy on me if you do the pre-work. And then, then that's not an issue.
Since we've largely decided on what recommendations we want to present with some polishing, could we vote on it now?
No, that's
And
not,
that we will clean it up and
No,
turn it
no.
into.
no,
Okay.
let's make it shiny and nice.
Okay, we'll polish.
Yeah, make it shiny and nice. Yeah, we'll come back. It's all good, no need to rush.
We'll have quorum.
Yeah,
We'll have a
we're
quorum.
good. We're good,
Okay.
we're good, and if we have to do it another day, we can always, we have the work sessions at the beginning of the month.
Okay, fair.
You come in, hey, vote, see you later. You're all right.
We still have access to at least one more virtual meeting, all virtual meeting if need be, like we did
Okay.
to
Yeah.
vote for the ordinance.
Yeah, but I just think that we're just having motion, doing something, that type of thing, so. So we're good, we're all right. Mhm. Yeah. Don't forget Saturdays, West Every Day, if you can come out. Not everybody at once.
I can be there for the first portion.
But
But I
you
can't
come
be-
out and if you do come out and it's, more than three of you, is that right, three?
Don't talk.
Don't talk to each other.
Don't talk to each other.
To be clear, you can be in the same proximity to
Right.
one another. It's okay.
Yeah.
Don't let that stop you from coming out and supporting. West
So-
We could talk about the Office of Human Rights, but we could talk about the Commission of Human Rights.
Just talk to the residents and not.
Yeah.
Talk to them.
Right?
You can
Yeah.
talk about the commission to
the
residents.
residents. Yeah,
Don't discuss business.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
with each other.
with each other. Easy,
It
easy.
should not be that hard, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can handle that.
all right, anything else going on? Okay.
Your last public comment?
Say again?
Your last
Oh,
public
last
comment.
public comment, do we have anyone? Is the person that was on still
Yes.
on? Okay,
If you would like to speak to the Human Rights Commission, please click the raised hand icon. And if you are joining by phone, you can press *9. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. Nothing.
yeah.
We appreciate having you here.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you for, if you're washing dishes or whatever you're doing, that you are listening to us, we appreciate you listening and
Tell a friend.
yeah,
Bring a friend next time.
Commissioners, thank you for your time on this evening. Excited to see all of you. And have a great rest of your week.
Yeah.
See you on the 15th. 18th.
15.
It's gonna be a busy week for you.
Thursday, 15.
Yeah, 15th. Yeah, see you. Yeah, you done?
Ready? Now we done?
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah,
Great.
cool, done. I mean, not cool.
We
You're this.
adjourned the
Adjourned.
meeting at
Adjourned.
7:40.
7:43.